Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Higher or Lower, brought to you by Spreadex and oddschecker. I'm your host, George Elek. I'm delighted to be joined, as ever, by Jack Wright. And then Dan is away again. But this time we have a replacement in Sam Tighe. Sam, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
We're going to get into it now, and because you're Dan for today, I'm afraid to say you had another poor week last week.
Fancy that. What's this about?
Where you only got 3 out of 8 right, which means your overall total so far for the season is 40%. Sorted out.
I can't believe you're back.
I can't believe it either.
How will I sleep tonight?
Jack, you and I both got 5 out of 8 right, so we both nudge above the 50% mark. You're 52% for the season. I'm 57. You guys at home did pretty well as well. You got 2 out of 3, which is good. But it means that between all 4 of us, so us 3, Dan, and the viewers at home, we've got exactly 50% right. So it's almost like the guys at Spreadex know what they're doing with these midpoints, isn't it?
Mad, isn't it, eh?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
But it's our job to make that better. We did okay last week. There was a couple that went really well. We went higher for the total goals, 3.2 in Brighton, West Ham. That finished up on 4, so all of us got that right. You guys nailed it with the Supreme in the Newcastle-Liverpool game. I thought I'd bank that. 1-0 up, 10 men, and then suddenly Darwin Núñez happened. And I got, on my own, I got right the Sheffield United Man City game, which was a bit tighter.
Fancy getting the EFL one right, George.
Yes.
You know your stuff.
Thank goodness for that on my own. We've got another EFL one coming up in just a second. But let's get into the game itself. This is the game of higher or lower, where we take the midpoint in the spread betting markets from Spreadex, and we have to say if we think it's either higher or lower using these paddles. And we're going to kick off with the Friday night game, isn't it? Yeah, Luton hosting West Ham at Luton. Luton starts the season not been great, but of course their fixtures have been difficult. For West Ham, it has been far better, being very good on the counter-attack against a couple of decent sides. So, first match goal is the market here, 36.5. So that means lower if we think it's going to be an early goal before that minute. Higher if we think it's going to be later. 3, 2, 1. Right, Sam and I go higher. Jack, you go lower. You can take us away and we'll tell you why you're wrong.
Okay, I look forward to that very much indeed. Well, where do I go with this? I think Friday night, obviously this is a massive game for Luton, we know that. Kenilworth Road finally gets to stage a Premier League game, a top flight game, first one for 31 years. I was just a wee boy when the last time they did that, which is saying something. How's the season started? As I said, not great for Luton, but been pretty tricky. As far as the goals are concerned, 36 minutes against Brighton, 17 Chelsea. Obviously, they did have a game in midweek at home, which was against Gillingham in the Cup, but they scored very early on, so they'll take that for sure. And you're right to say, West Ham have been a massive surprise at the start of the season. Obviously, have the opportunity to go back to the top of the table, being the first cab off the rank this weekend. So, good performances, let's say, on the break. And I just feel that we mentioned him last week, but Antonio, player on a streak, he's a guy that seems to start the season very well. West Ham, I think, are a side that perform well when they're fresh. We saw them last season struggle with the amount of fixtures they were playing, but I think obviously James Ward-Prowse has come in and performed well. They've got a set-piece threat there, obviously, and he's got his first goal for the club. Also, Jared Bowen could be the first West Ham player to score in first 3 away games of the season for nearly 100 years. So they've got lots of good stuff going on. Yeah, I know. Kudos as well, coming in as well, fresh off a hat-trick last week. So I think there's a lot of actual attack and intent in the game, which I think on the face of it probably was surprising to me when I dug into the detail of it. And I just feel that they've got that opportunity with a massive atmosphere at Kenilworth Road. It's going to be that buzz, the razzmatazz of the Friday night football. That's what I'm basing it on, that they're going to want to come out of the blocks. These are the sort of games that Luton needs to pick up points from. And West Ham obviously got a great opportunity to go top.
And Sam, how intimidating is it for you to sit next to Jack for the first time, not only hear his reasoning, but just see how beautiful and pristine his notes are?
You should see mine.
Well, I can.
Look,
you've gone higher.
I've gone higher. I think the Kenilworth Road factor here is massive. Yeah. It's great fun to start with, as you say. It's a cracking fixture to kick us off. And I think the stadium and the buzz and the atmosphere will probably level the playing field for a while. I think Luton will start strong off the back of it, but I'm always concerned about their cutting edge and maybe that lack of quality up front. And so while they probably start fast, maybe they don't find the goal. West Ham are very good at weathering these storms because they're a big physical team. They're very well organised under David Moyes. And then as the game drags on, do Luton just lose a bit of impetus, lose a bit of tempo, and West Ham kind of do what they did to Bournemouth on the opening day, which is sort of crawl their way back into it and eventually score the goal. So that's my reckoning and reasoning for higher. I think West Ham probably end up scoring the first goal in this game, but I think it comes in the second half.
Yeah, I agree. I think Luton, you can look at the 7 goals they've conceded in their first 2 games, but that has basically been against 2 sides who are incredibly good attacking forces. And I think with Luton here, West Ham, have started the season well, but I just can't see West Ham being able to exploit the space in behind. Like Luton, generally last season under Rob Edwards would press, but they'd press from like a mid to low block. So they would engage them kind of much higher up the pitch, or sorry, lower down the pitch. Could I ever say that? So yeah, I think they'll be set up to frustrate them. I think this could be a much more cagey game. And even though West Ham have been high scoring to start the season, this is David Moyes we're talking about, and there are going to be games where West Ham aren't particularly fluid going forward. So I agree with the higher.
The Moyes higher.
The Moyes
higher.
I agree with the Moyes higher.
Yeah. The only thing I'd say is that they only won 3 away from home last season, West Ham, but 2 of them were against newly promoted sides and with early goals.
Just to say, we have to remember that like Luton could score early as well.
Yeah. Absolutely right.
About this as if it's like West Ham's first goal.
And West Ham don't have to win.
But, well, no, they don't have to.
Now on to Sheffield United against Everton. Everton fresh off a 2-1 win at Doncaster on Wednesday night, where they were very, very poor in the first half. But Beto, their new striker, came on and made all the difference, getting his first goal. We're looking at total goal minutes here, so it's the accumulative amount of minutes that the goals are scored in within the game. And the midpoint here is 119, so it's 114 to sell, 124 to buy. 119, are we going higher or lower? 3, 2, 1. All right, I'm actually going higher on my own.
Okay.
This is a really low line.
It is.
Like generally for total goal minutes, you're looking kind of in the 130s for like an average, I would say, for the midpoint. And I can understand why, 2 sides aren't necessarily known for their attacking fluidity. I would say that Sheffield United, I thought, were pretty impressive against Man City, certainly in their defensive shape, and I get that. But at the same time, we did see 2 incredibly late goals there. And for Everton, I'm taking the £35 million new striker signing and him scoring in midweek is just a possibility that maybe we're going to see something a little bit different from them going forward. I think if this was the total goals line, I wouldn't be as keen to be on the high side. But because it's total goal minutes, I can see this being a very cagey game to start with. I think it's imperative that neither team loses. But I could see it unravelling a little bit towards the back end. And it's just, I think just going lower at 119 gives me the heebie-jeebies. So that's my reasoning here. Sam, why are you going higher?
Because I don't think there's more than 1 goal in this game.
Okay.
I think it's quite possibly our first 0-0 of the season in the Premier League.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
We haven't had one yet, which I feel like we're due one.
Yeah,
and that's not really
fair.
great logic.
No, I think it is great. There is going to be one soon.
There's going to be one at some point. It might well be this week. It might well be Sheffield United against Everton. They don't inspire me. I think they're both in a very fragile position, even though they've both got brand new strikers to potentially unleash, Cameron Archer and Beto, obviously in the Premier League for the first time. They still don't inspire me because I think they look fragile. And
fragility, what does that,
It just means caginess from both sides.
Fine, okay.
And then what I ask myself is, okay, late on, if this game is locked at 0-0 in the 70th, 80th minute, are one of these teams bold enough to go and push for it? Are they going to go for it? I don't actually think they are. Everton definitely won't, because I think they'll definitely go, yeah, we'll take a draw away from home. They're actually absolutely in that mindset. And Sheffield United might just be fragile enough there to not really have the confidence to go for it.
Is this not a game where, like, if Blades had any hope of staying up, like at home against a relegation candidate, they've got to?
Oh, you've got to. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But no, I'm not seeing it just yet.
No, I think as much as they need and they want, there's a lot of things I need and I want. And I'm not going to be able to get them. It must be said. But I'm in the same camp there. Obviously, I think we were close to that 0-0 last week. That was Everton Wolves, and this rings very, very similar bells to me. Yeah. Obviously, no goals yet for Everton. I've sort of dug into a bit of Beto just to kind of work out whether I need to change my line of sight on Everton and the fact they don't score goals. They've obviously created a fair amount. Their XG is around about 5, I think.
Are you saying that Beto scoring against the team bottom of the Football League isn't a reason to think he's going to score again here?
I am saying my jury is out on that, yes.
Yeah. Everton's actually 4.7.
4.7, so it's quite close to 5,
with 0 goals scored. I mean, they're the only team in the league that hasn't scored.
If we're doing 0-0, we're not also doing Everton goals.
We're absolutely due about 4 Everton goals, that's the problem.
Fine, and it's going to happen at Bramall Lane on Saturday. I've gone higher there, the 2 guys here going lower for what is a low line, but understandably so. Into the EFL now. Can I keep up my 100% record in my specialist league? Sunderland hosting Southampton. Southampton has started the season incredibly well. Sunderland, I would say performances have been better than results, but certainly not keeping up the pace they set last season when getting into the playoffs. We're going for the supremacy here, so this is the amount of goals that the favourite wins over the opposition. Southampton are the favourites here, and the midpoint is 0.25. Obviously, this can have a negative makeup. If Sunderland were to win the game 2-0, it would make up -2. So if you sold, you'd make 2.25 profit. So Saints over Sunderland at 0.25. So you have the draw and the Sunderland results on side if you go lower. Just Southampton win if you go higher. 3, 2, 1. Ooh.
Well, it's just always the odd one out, isn't it? It's me again this time round.
You're on the wrong side.
Time will tell, George.
Yes,
time will tell. Yeah. This is a tight one to call. I've got no real strong opinion on this one, to be honest. I just fancied Southampton because they've got more firepower, simple as that. Sunderland desperately searching for a striker at the moment. I heard Tony Mowbray with his quote say they're not falling off trees at the moment. Shame Leif Davis isn't a striker, obviously.
It feels like every single club, basically in the EFL, is desperate, is like looking for the same player.
And the Premier League.
So there's quite a few out there.
But to the extent that there are some strikers, I think, in League Two who are like clubs are rejecting bids of like 800, 900,000 because they know that probably come deadline day someone's going to come in mad.
Which is fast approaching. Obviously, we're like 24 hours away.
Let's talk about this all day. Let's go back to the game. Yeah.
But I think that's the issue for me as far as Sunderland and their goals are concerned. Southampton haven't been overly impressive so far this season. They've kind of been just doing enough, and they've just been kind of getting the job done. A lot of late goals there as well. 2 winners, 87th and 94th minute. 98th minute equaliser, of course, as well.
The guy that keeps scoring those might not be there for this game. You never know. Shay Adams, that's a concern.
That's right. Yeah.
And the other one who keeps scoring them is left, and Nathan Teller. So.
Yeah. Oh dear me, what am I doing? But they have got Adam Armstrong, who scored 4 goals so far this season, and I would imagine if they're letting one of those guys go, they will have someone lined up to come in. Obviously, they're after Ross Stewart, who is injured at the minute, so that'd be a blow to Sunderland in the longer term. But a psychological blow, enough for me to go with Southampton, just to edge this one.
Yeah. The concern here, surely, is that Southampton's week has been tumultuous and will probably only get stormier over the next couple of days.
Agreed.
What shape are they going to be in by the time they actually kick off here? All right, they might actually use the last couple of days in the window to get the pieces they need, but will they be ready? Will they have trained?
There doesn't seem to be that much talk about incomings. It's all about the players who might be going out the door.
Even if they get them, I'm just not sure this is a settled enough team to go to the Stadium of Light and actually perform on this basis and actually show themselves up as favourites. So I just kind of look at it and think, well, possibly a draw, possibly a loss, so I end up shading lower.
I think basically one of my biggest stances at the moment in the EFL is that Southampton are going to drop points fairly soon.
They've got a hell of a month as well.
I know, really tough games. Like they were second best in my view against QPR on the weekend, and they won the game 2-1. I think Gareth Ainsworth's side could feel very aggrieved at not getting anything from that game.
It's not a good side, right?
Nope.
Oh no,
incorrect.
No.
It's the sign of a bad side, I would say, if we're playing badly. If you win the league playing badly, then that's another thing entirely, maybe. But so Teller's gone, who I think the way that Russell Martin plays, with Teller out on the right-hand side, it was like a constant outball with Teller able to basically has the quality to shift inside of his left foot and hit those shots across goal, which was a big reason why Burnley went up last season against the low block. Give it to Benson, who could just do that every time. Smallbone's out injured. Shea Charles has come in for Manchester City. He's kind of playing his first men's football at the moment. He looks like a talent, but I'm not sure he's basically playing up to the level that Smallbone was playing before that.
Flynn Downs, though.
Flynn Downs will probably come in on the left-hand side of the 3.
1 billion passes per 90.
Yeah, but he's not playing the Smallbone role, which is weird. Like it was the same at Swansea, where it would be Grimes and it would be Downs next door. Like if Downs did play there, then I think that's kind of what you'd be getting. Will Carl Walker-Peters be there come Saturday? Possibly not. Another one who's being linked to a move. You say Adam Armstrong scored 4 goals, and he has, but 2 are penalties, and 1 basically came off his net
when
he was trying to duck. So
instinct of a striker, you can't buy that as teams are finding out.
And Sunderland, as I say, I think have been much better than their results. Like they squeezed past Rotherham 2-1. They got a decent point at Coventry last time. Their home form last season was poor, and that is an issue. But I think in Jack Clarke, in Ekwa, in Neil, they've got some elite attacking talent here, and I'm just not sure you can say the same about Southampton at the moment. I mean, Alcaraz is obviously a player that we're expecting a lot from, but I'm not entirely sure he's shown it thus far at the Championship level this season. So it's probably would be my strongest one of the show would be getting the Sunderland here.
It's your strongest one?
Yeah, well, I battled them in the fixed as well earlier in the week. Brighton against Newcastle next up. on a certain pod that me and Sam did. You Brighton fans can blame me for their defeat against West Ham after I touched them as title contenders. Back to supremacy here. So it's Newcastle over Brighton is the supremacy. Newcastle favourites for this one, but only just really marginal at 0.1. We're going higher or lower. 3, 2, 1. Sam, take us away.
Is it too simple to just simply say that Newcastle will win this game?
No, you've got to tell us why.
Yeah, so, okay, fine. Do you remember the first week of the season when Newcastle took apart Villa with all that space in behind? And you could say that Villa were a bit naive there. Obviously, they were affected by Tyrone Mings' injury, but the high line and the press wasn't in sync. And when you give that space in behind to so many sort of relentless runners like not Ashley Barnes, like Harvey Barnes and like Almiron.
Ashley Barnes runs as well, just not as fast.
He just doesn't run as fast and not off the flank.
What a player, though.
Yeah, those guys, I mean, I think Brighton are going to play into Newcastle's hands a little bit. And maybe people are a little bit spooked by the Newcastle recent form. Obviously, it's 2 losses, but it's come on, it's Liverpool and it's Man City. And the Liverpool one was utterly bizarre. I think we can all agree on that. I wouldn't be spooked by that. And I'd look at this tactical matchup and I'd view it similarly to how Newcastle took apart Villa. We know that Brighton can occasionally drop a bit of a stinker. I know they're not as regular as 2 weeks in a row because they did it against West Ham last week. But I don't know, just the way this game sets itself up and the 2 tactical styles, I think this works in Newcastle's favour.
Just because I'm going to make a small point and then I'll give it to Jack to the main one. I agree about them throwing in the odd bad game, but it's interesting if you look back to last season. They lost back-to-back games when De Zerbi just come in early October against Spurs and Brentford. But if you look at what happened after that, where they were beaten 4-2 by Arsenal, they went to Goodison and won 4-1 next time out. They were beaten by Tottenham 2-1 away from home. They went to Stamford Bridge and won 2-1 next time out. They were beaten 5-1 by Everton. Remember that at home last season?
I do remember that.
They went to the Emirates in the next game and won 3-0. And then they were beaten 4-1 by Newcastle and then came back and beat Southampton 3-1 the time after. So it does feel like there is a pattern there with De Zerbi's Brighton side being able to bounce back from these setbacks, maybe being able to learn from these games where they concede a lot of goals.
Yeah, they don't stay down for long, do they?
Exactly. And I kind of think that maybe after such a good start to the season, their first 2 performances, maybe everybody getting a little bit carried away. Maybe they, needed this just to take stock and be like, right, we need to tighten up here. And any chance Ansu Fati plays in this one? Because that would be quite fun.
Interesting, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely right.
Is he fit?
Never.
I'll be asking that question for the next 35 weeks. Is he fit?
You've done enough there for me, really, to be honest. It was a tight call. I've gone with the lower purely because effectively this is a bit of a draw no bet, isn't it? The line is so tight, and therefore I'm prepared to take that slight margin on having Brighton and tiny fractions of profit on the draw. You mentioned it.
It is absolutely disgusting if it's a draw. Me and you get the win there. But
it's scruffy win. I'll take that all day long.
It's a sign of a good player, isn't it?
Exactly right. You know the drill. Yeah. You said De Zerbi's mentioned it as a lower than expectation, so obviously planned that last week just to kind of make sure that was the case. Newcastle's record against the top 6 last season as well.
When they win the league, I'm going to have my own open bus. Top bus parade, I think. Through the streets of Brighton.
Just you?
Absolutely.
Just me.
Up and down the front.
Yeah, just me, yeah.
Nice.
Me and De Zerbi, yeah.
Oh, great.
Me and Solly Marsh. Yeah. Lovely stuff. So any more to add?
No, to say the Newcastle's record against the top 6 last season was poor enough for me to side with Brighton here. Obviously Brighton included in that. They didn't win any of those games. So,
yeah.
Okay.
Same game, total goals is the next one. 3.3 is the line, so high, but as you'd expect with the Brighton side. 3.2 to sell, 3.4 to buy. Going higher or lower, 3, 2, 1. Yeah. Yeah, go on.
I thought I might stand alone on this one. Why am I doing it? That's a very good question you've asked me there. Everything inside me would go, I'm going goals here. We all know about De Zerbi, the record that he's got at the moment, 35 Premier League games, 123 goals across those, 74, 53 against. So there we go, that's out of the way. 3.51 is the average, but I am kind of playing the line here as much as anything. It is a high line. 4 goals to get any kind of loss, and it would be a small one at that. So I'm prepared to take the chance that we will get less than expected, given that the 2 sides are kind of coming back from those poor results last week. And also looking at Newcastle's form against the top 6 last season, defensively solid, generally last campaign, but they have struggled keeping clean sheets. But when you look at the form against the top 6, there was only 5 goals against the other members of the top 6 last season, and only 1 this season. Obviously, went to Man City and lost that 1-0. Their XG, and that was 0.25. So I know that's Man City, and they will get more chances against this Brighton side that you expect to be fairly open. But looking at those games, they were very, very tight last season. There's no reason to suspect that they will be the same this time round.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've got Newcastle taking them apart, and I'm drawing parallels to the Villa game, so I have to go higher, don't I? It'd be silly not to.
Yeah, I agree. I don't agree with Newcastle winning. I think this is maybe a sign of the times. I think this is the game of the weekend, really. I think I'd rather, if I could only watch one game this weekend in the Premier League, I'd choose this over Arsenal United, I think. But it's, for me, I think Botman's injury, if he's going to be out, is massive. You know that Newcastle's success last season was built upon a very good defence, but if he's out, we saw what Darwin Núñez did to Newcastle and Botman went off in the 82nd minute last weekend. I think that would mean that Brighton should have some joy. But as we know with Newcastle, they're a very good attacking side. I think it should be really end-to-end, and it should be a cracking game. I can't see any way that it's going to be cagey. Like you mentioned the City game there, but that's City, this is Brighton. Two very different.
Yeah.
I'm hanging about on the fact that those games across all those top 6 sides were very, very low scoring.
Fair enough.
They only scored 1 goal, Newcastle, against any of the top 6 in their last 6 games.
It's great to know that Brighton are indeed a Big 6 team now. Palace against Wolves. Next up, total goal minutes again. So we've already looked at this market. 117 to sell, 127 to buy. So the midpoint is 122. Are we going higher or lower? 3, 2, 1. Yeah, all 3 of us lower. Sam, I'll let you lead.
I don't want to watch this game.
No.
Is it the worst one?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, actually, Everton Sheffield United have a play at that one. I mean, I said that we haven't had a 0-0 yet. I predicted that we might get 1. I actually think we might get 2.
A 0-0 double.
Yeah, I genuinely think we might get 2 at once here. 2 teams that I think probably will just cancel each other out a little bit, who will play cagey football. Michael Olise is not fit yet. I know Ez is, really interesting and really vibrant, but Palace don't necessarily inspire me too much. And Wolves, what state are Wolves going to be in? Because they've had a horrible summer. They've had a horrible time putting the ball in the back of the net early doors. They're just about to lose Mateusz, who is arguably their best player. What mindset are they going to be going into this, an away game? Again, I draw a parallel to Everton and say they take a 0-0 all day. They take the point. They're not going to push the boat out and try and win this game. And Palace here, they're under Roy Hodgson. They take a 1-0. They'd probably be okay with not essentially going for it. I do see 2 very cagey teams here, and I see a very cagey match, which is why I shade lower.
It's mad how quickly Hodgson has kind of reverted to type. We saw at the back end of last season, this kind of amazing attacking style, and now suddenly we've had in the league a 1-0 away win, a 1-0 home defeat, and a 1-1 draw on the road. I agree. I mean, it's interesting to note in midweek, they were atrocious at Plymouth Argyle for the first 55 minutes of the game, 2-0 down, not really having a look in. Hodgson brought on Eze, Schlupp and Ayew, and 5 minutes later they were 3-2 up, which was impressive in the cup and shows the attacking qualities of those players. But I agree. I just think Hodgson versus O'Neill, 2 teams that Palace would obviously want to win. Wolves would take a draw. It feels very cagey to me. Yeah. Jack.
Yeah, I think pragmatism is probably the key word for this game. It's not one you're going to get excited about. I don't suppose even the 2 sets of fans are going to be even excited about this one at all. And I think the words that you said there are going to ring true for much of the season when we're talking about the likes of Everton, Sheffield United and Wolves and Palace, really, to be honest. Although they'll probably finish higher up than any of those other sides, it will be through pragmatism, word again. But Wolves obviously only scored 12 away goals last season. You can see that being very similar. And 6 of the last 8 meetings between these 2 sides of this line would have landed. So going across the totals this season, only once has it been higher, and that was in that mad game, Wolves versus Brighton. Brighton kind of come in that same category a bit as Manchester City, where you go, well, that's a bit of an anomaly to a stat. And we'll go with the other ones there, which hold sway. So, I think this is a confident lower.
Yeah, I think we're all on the same page here, all 3 of us agreeing here with the lower. Finally, Arsenal against Manchester United. Arsenal fresh off a disappointing 2-2 draw against Fulham. United fresh off, just a crazy game, a 3-2 win over Forest when they were 2-0 down after 4 minutes. Managed to get it back in the ensuing kind of 90 minutes to win the game 3-2. We're looking at the supremacy here. Arsenal are favourites. 0.75 is the midpoint, so 0.65 to sell. The buy 0.85 at the Emirates here. So Arsenal at home and favourites going higher or lower. 3, 2, 1. I can't see.
All in agreement.
All in agreement. I'll kick off. I think I'm not willing to take United being 2-0 down, basically starting a game 2-0 down against Forest at home and then winning the game 3-0 as evidence for the fact that they are back. I would be concerned with that. I think Arsenal's issues in the Fulham game have been kind of overblown. It was a defensive error. It was a goal from the set piece. For the rest of the game, they were by far the dominant side. They created plenty of chances to win the game. In itself, I think Arsenal are just the better team with home advantage here, and if they win the game, then I win.
And tally that up with Man United's absolute horror week in terms of injuries to the back line and the situation they're facing going
and
into
the Arsenal doctor.
And look at this. Look, this game is horrible at the best of times. Like Arsenal away is now over the last 18 months one of the most difficult fixtures in the Premier League. You're going into it without your best centre back in Raphael Varane and your best left back in Luke Shaw, and often actually, when they've been lacking a centre-back, they've kicked Luke Shaw inside to centre-back. They can't even do that because he's injured too. So whatever they do over the course of the next 2 days in terms of deadline day, whether or not they get Sofiane Amrabat, whether or not they get Marc Cucurella, it doesn't really matter because nothing can really fix them this quickly, ready for this game. And with Arsenal, I am anticipating a little bit of anger and a little bit of a lashback because of what happened at the weekend. They know that draws are not good enough in a title race. Last season proved that beyond any doubt. If you draw, it's basically a loss when you're trying to chase down City and trying to go game to game with them. So I expect a reaction. And I also expect with Zinchenko back fit and a few of the defensive issues maybe ironed out, maybe Gabriel's back in. Either way, that situation will be solved. Arsenal will look in a much healthier place and they're at home. And Man United will look very fragile because of the injuries.
Yeah, and I think the fact that Saka's up against whoever we left back is
Dalot, probably.
Yeah, probably Dalot, yeah.
I hope the guys at home are on that 11 byline on season goals.
Yeah, 2 already. Yeah. Happy days. Yeah. Again, not like what I've seen of United so far this season. They don't really look fit. They've started this season like they did last season, but have got away with it a bit. They got away with it in more ways than one against Wolves. They went to Spurs and got beat 2-0. Spurs were the only team in the top 9 last season. They picked a point up from away from home. 1 point in all those games, lost the rest, lost the other 7, scored 8, conceded 28. That's just a ridiculously bad record against the better sides in the Premier League. Shipped 7 at Liverpool, obviously shipped 6 at City, 3 at the Emirates as well. So I think Arteta's maybe overthought things a little bit at the start of the season with trying to be ahead of the game as far as people maybe catching up with his tactics. I'd expect him to go more tried and trusted this time round, possibly like Ben White back to right back. You said that Gabriel situation.
A lot of it will just work itself out because of players returning, right? Suspension, injury, and all that. Yeah. It will just look a lot more like last season's Arsenal. And if it's anything like that, United are gonna lose.
Yes, that's a great way to end it.
Do we even need to? We've got one more market.
Full stop.
Is it even any need? I think we know what we're all going to do here. First, Arsenal goals. So this is if you think Arsenal, the midpoint's 44. So basically, if you think Arsenal are going to score in the first half, you go lower. If you think they won't score at all, or they'll take them to the second half, then you'd go higher. 44, the midpoint here, higher or lower. 3, 2, 1. Yeah.
Gotta be. Start like a train.
Yeah, you said it there. It feels like there's going to be a reaction after last week. You look at what happened. I would say in all 3 games, like the Wolves game was open immediately, and Wolves were creating chances with the better side straight away. Tottenham hit the post about 17 times in the first half in the other one, and then 2 goals for Forest. It feels like even though United came back into that game, like they started each game really slowly.
Yes.
With Arsenal's attacking talents, it shouldn't take them too long. If we're right and they're going to win the game, then there's no reason why it would take them a while to make that kind of dominant show.
100%, yeah. I think the phrase "smell blood" comes to mind here, and it's like I said, with Arsenal looking to provide some kind of reaction. I think with United looking so fragile, it really is one of those cases where, like at the Emirates, because the crowd there nowadays is very, very good as well. Like it starts fast, it starts early, it's very loud, and Arsenal start quickly as a result. Fulham expended there from the conversation and started fast in the wrong way there. But again, something to set right, and I just feel like Arsenal were going to score probably in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think this is their first kind of big game of the season at home as well. So I think you're right. One of the things I was going to say was the crowd are going to be bang up for this one. And they've won the last 4, the last 5 against United at the Emirates and scored early goals in all those. 24, 3, 8 and 12 have been the goals that they've scored in those ones. see a very, very similar pattern evolving here. And as you say, United were very lucky not to concede early against Spurs, and that's the sort of similar scenario I expect here. Arsenal straight out the traps and putting a statement out there.
Yeah, all of us going low. So we agree on the last three there. RIPR mentions when United go 2-0 up after 10 minutes. Finally, we have the game to play. And I don't know if anyone's told Sam about this. This could be quite fun. He's looking absolutely terrified. So this is where I pitch you guys up against each other. I can put my paddles away. So this is where I will read out a line, and you guys, and another line from another game, and you have to say if it's going to be higher or lower. It's very simple. And then if you get one wrong, you go out. We probably should have told Sam off air what the plan was. The market we've chosen this week is total home team goals, right? So the amount of goals the home team will score. It's very, very simple. That's it. The amount of goals the home team's going to score. The first line is Manchester City goals at home to Fulham. I can tell you the midpoint there is 2.9. Okay. So I'm going to read out the next team, and you have to say if it's going to be higher or lower. Chelsea goals against Nottingham Forest. 3, 2, 1, go. Both correct. 2.2 is the line for that one. Arsenal goals at home to Manchester United. That's a good noise. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, 1.95 is the line. So Sam is out. He's did well to get one right, given you didn't even know what was happening.
Right, yeah.
I barely understood it.
Didn't fall on the first fence, which is
what Dan normally does. So you've outperformed Dan. He's going to get upset about that because he won last week. Right, Jack Wright going. Liverpool goals against Villa.
1.9 was the other line.
1.95.
I'll just go higher.
Higher is correct. 2.15. Brentford goals against Bournemouth.
Lower.
Correct. 1.8. Brighton goals against. Can you do the clean sweep?
No.
Brighton goals against Newcastle. 1.8. Higher or lower?
Marginally higher.
No, 1.6.
Yeah, there we go.
I cursed it.
You did, but then I did enough.
Another victory for Jack, beating. So yeah, it's good. You've got another one. You've just ruined Dan's record there. So good work. Cheers to Sam and for Jack, as ever, for sharing their tips, thoughts, and insight. I have a feeling Dan's score might go up a bit, having Sam scoring for him this week.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Pressure.
No, I think we're better than Dan.
Fantastic. Not at that game, though.
No. Well, he's not great either.
Sorry, Dan.
Thanks to the guys for sharing their thoughts and insight. Loads of stuff in there. Make sure you do check out Spreadex for all of your spread betting needs ahead of this weekend's Premier League and across all other sports as well. And check out oddschecker too. And subscribe to the YouTube channel where you can find all the episodes of Higher or Lower and loads more preview content across sports as well. Remember, with spread betting, losses can exceed your initial deposit. Please do enjoy the football this weekend and do ensure that you are gambling responsibly.